The rulebook doesn't say you have to tackle this journey of life alone. These are the times I make those connections with others, so we can all take a look back while we all move forward. This is the Dependent Independent Podcast. Minisode. Hey there, subscribers. Thank you for downloading and listening to Minisode 54 and a half of the Dependent Independent Podcast. I'm your host, Nick G. This is a podcast about making connections, looking back while moving forward. In these minisodes, I get my subscribers caught up on what you missed in our previous episode, episode 54, what's been going on with me since that last episode posted, and what you can anticipate in future episodes. These minisodes post, and our full episodes post at midnight every Monday. You can go to thedependentindependent.com to stream the show, watch our YouTube videos, and check out my blog. You can check out our Facebook page at the Dependent Independent Podcast page, YouTube at the Dependent Independent Podcast page, and you can download this podcast or tell your friends, share, rate the show. You can tell everybody to download it on any podcast app on the interwebs, whether it be Android or iOS. We have links, hyperlinks in the show notes, everywhere you can find the show. Spread the word, but I know, like I said before, this show is for my subscribers. So, episode 54, if you didn't get a chance to listen to it, that's when I was joined by Chris Galluccio. He's a published author and a photographer. He owns Stella Max Photography down here in South Jersey. He also owns thoughtswordsactions.com, where you can check him out on YouTube as well at Thoughts, Words, Actions. I'll put hyperlinks to his channel, and he just published a book called My Happy Marriage. Promoted the hell out of it since we posted our last episode, episode 54. I read the book. The book's awesome. It was great, actually. I want to thank everybody who follows me on Facebook and the social medias. I posted a few things on Instagram, too. I had 2 days that I was unemployed, and on March 17th, St. Patty's Day, my friend Chris and I sat in the studio. It's the first time we hosted someone else in this studio, and we recorded episode 54. The funny thing about Chris is, I don't know if it's really funny, but I pride myself on being a nice person, a generous person, a kind person. I try my best to convey a kind soul, and I think Chris beats me by 10. He is this. He'll never claim that he's perfect, but it's amazing how this nice, generous, and honest person is able to share what he learned about having a happy marriage with his wife, Bree. Bree is also a business owner. She owns, it's Buns in the Oven, which is a kind of like a designer cinnamon bun, hot bun shop that she runs out here in South Jersey. Check them out. I think you can find her on Facebook or you can find her on Twitter. And he's a dad just like me. And it was great to be able to connect with somebody like him because this show's all about making connections. And I'm glad I'm building this relationship with him because he has a lot to share. I have a lot to share. And I like the fact that we meet in the middle. So you can go to Amazon and buy his book, his ebook, My Happy Marriage. I'll have the link to his ebook in the show notes so you can go buy it. It's awesome. Check it out. I think that what's up now, or when this show posts tonight at midnight, that's his beta book or his beta version. I think the self-publishing allows you to edit it, but who cares? Then you get like the director's cut with all the real stuff in it that Chris may or may not take out. But I read the version and I thought the book was awesome. So check that out. And if you haven't listened to episode 54, go listen to it. Check it out. Share it with your friends. Go on iTunes and rate the show. I love feeling good about myself, and I love hearing positive feedback or negative feedback. So I don't mind any kind of feedback or criticism. So go on there and check it out and download it and subscribe. If you're new to the show, go ahead and subscribe. So go on your iTunes app, your podcast app on your iPhone or whatever Android app you're using and hit subscribe. That way, every time we post the show, it'll hit your podcast feed. So these are minisodes, and I'm doing really good at keeping them short because these were way too long, and I know people's attention spans and so on. And these minisodes, then this video will go up on YouTube later on this week. I say later on this week, but I might get it up within 12 hours because I'm awesome. So I mentioned before that I took 2 days off. So I was in between jobs, and I was posting all these images of me being unemployed. And I thank everybody, like I said before, who were worried that I was unemployed. But the reason I was unemployed is because I had to make a change. And this past weekend, and there's a reason why I'm going to kind of lead into that change. My daughter was part of a dance ensemble with her dance troupe from the local dance studio, which I've talked about before on the show. and she performed in the High School Musical. They did Anything Goes. It's kind of old. A lot of songs in that play I listened to. Maybe Sinatra sang a few of them. I didn't realize they were from that actual play, but if you get a chance to check it out, it was okay. Nothing crazy. I thought last year Bye Bye Birdie was really good, and suddenly I had this taste for musicals because we saw Wicked over the holiday, or a few weeks ago. It wasn't really over the holiday. So I look on stage, right? And I was an artist in high school. I was peculiar, trying to figure myself out. But the best way I could be myself is to express myself, whether it be being on stage, whether it be dancing. Well, I danced as a goof when I was in high school. Now I'm a pro. So any way I could, I wrote poetry, and I did videos, anything I could do to share myself with the world. But most importantly, it was an opportunity for people to pay attention to you. I got a lot of attention at home when I was a kid, and you kind of crave for it. You crave for people to see you for the value that you add or the artistry that you add. And these kids are on stage, and not all the kids up there are extremely confident, right? I mean, I'm assuming, but I can tell you that I'm sure a lot of those kids that go out there can be themselves and be who they are, but then they go back to school to judgment and ridicule and I could be just speaking for myself, honestly. I don't think every kid that went in that high school play is doing that, but you can always, and my wife being a teacher, will always notice every time we see past students that she's had, if they're outgoing or they're on stage, whether it be for the lip sync competition that she does in her middle school that she MCs, that's when the kid is out there actually being themselves. But when they're back in the hallway, they're really quiet and reserved and to themselves. And you never really get to know them until they stand out because they want to be somebody. They want to put themselves out there. And I have a confession to make. I think the last 2 years as I've done this show, I've lied to my listeners. I'm always about being as honest as possible with those of you that decide to tune in every week to the Dependent Independent podcast. And I strive on sharing stories with you, but there's this whole half part of my life that I never really share with you. And that's what I do for a living. I help people become successful in my profession. And I've done a damn good job trying to get good at that. Because when I graduated high school with an art degree and they shook my hand and said, good luck getting a job, I needed to figure out how to make myself more marketable and learn how to be something more. Again, throwing myself out there so people pay attention to me, so I add some artistic, creative business value. And after seeing those kids on stage and thinking about how that's their moment to shine, my confession is that I've been terribly miserable the last 2 years, that this podcast has allowed me to express myself and be myself. But I spent 2 or 4 years at my previous employer and the last 2 years doing this podcast just miserable, trying to get as much energy as possible to be myself and share with all of you. And when I stop and realize after watching those kids on stage, I was simply somebody at this job trying to put myself out there, trying to give as much as I can to what I thought they needed, and they never paid attention. And that's why they lost me. I mean, hands down, that's why they lost me. I say this because I know there's probably a few of you listening to this show that may be in the same situation at your jobs. And I can tell you this, if you know that you can add value in what you do, and you are good at what you do, damn anyone who isn't paying attention. And you deserve more than that. So you might have to make a choice. You might have to ask someone for help. You might have to update your resume. You need to do something, because if you don't, you will go down a rabbit hole of misery that you can't dig yourself out of. I am lucky that between those 2 days, I've just finished my 6th day of work at my new job, and I have never been happier doing a job than I have now. It's amazing when you know what you want, but you know what you look for in a company or a business, that they're looking for what you have. And I nailed it. And the irony is I found my job just simply by being me. You know, we talk about being yourself and being honest and people paying attention to you. I simply was myself and met someone 2 years ago that happened to work at the organization that I work at now, got me in the door, and now I am having the best time ever. I've never raced so fast to get to work. I'm there 15 minutes early, and oh my God, my sleeping habits are nuts. It's late. This show's going to go. I can't post these shows. I have to race to get this show posted because I'm up at 5:30 every day and out of the door at 6:45. I just have to get I'm a very routine. You guys know that. I'm real big into routines. And I just got to get myself moving and in the morning and getting to bed early. But when I was thinking of a topic of this show and seeing those kids up on stage and knowing that I'm just like them, strong enough in something and talented enough in something that I want to be able to put myself out there, and I just want others to pay attention and value what I have, just like every kid gets up there on stage. And I know I say it's a confession, but you don't know how hard that was to do that. Now, I'm not going to sit here and badmouth my employer. I just could tell you I was very disappointed, and that's why I left. And some of you are at jobs right now where you go in every day, and I've been an employee a long time. I've worked for almost 20 years with employees to help them in my profession. And I think you owe it to yourself, and you deserve more to take action and do something different to get yourself the hell out of there. I got lucky in my situation. And if you need help, and I know I don't usually talk about what I do, but you can connect with me on my website at thedependentindependent.com. Go to the contact page, send me your email. If you have a question or anything like that, you're stuck in a rut at a job, I can help. I know I don't really talk about that because I kind of keep this separate. But even though it's funny, I say I try to keep these separate, right? Work and the podcast. I have this double life. But again, it's still me. And I want to make sure I'm 100% in doing what I do all the time and the best me when I do all the time. So I think I held back a lot. And I've mentioned it, and I've teased to it a little bit as I've maybe the last couple episodes about sharing more about what I do and what I learn at work. And I think even when I go back on some of the podcast episodes, I talked about being this entrepreneur and getting out. I think that was just a cry for help. I just wanted to get the hell out of that environment. And I'm glad I did. I'm very blessed. I'm happy. I'm happy at home. I'm happy with my kids. And I'm always happy with my kids, but I'm not heavy. My thoughts aren't heavy or worrisome about what I have to deal with. So I think if I leave you with that, I think it's a great opportunity for anyone to get a little bit of a boost, get out of that rut and do something about it. Because at the end of the day, you can't get away from yourself. And if you're going to hang out with yourself, you better be the best you. And when you do that, good people see it and good people pay attention, and it makes you feel good, right? Right inside, it makes you feel good. So that's what's been going on since my last podcast. I haven't really hit the social media at all because I've just been immersed in my work. I'm trying to learn everything. I'm trying to get promoted yesterday, which is ridiculous because I've talked about my ambition. What's coming up is I'm actually working with the two hosts, or actually one of the hosts of Corey from the Unpopular Culture podcast, and she did some graphic design for me. So soon enough, we're going to have the Are You Listening? I Think You Should page on our website where we're going to go back in our entire back catalog, and every time we profile the podcast in our Are You Listening segment, we're going to put their link, their image, so you can see anyone who's impacted me in this podcast journey to episode 200, and you'll be able to try out some new podcasts. I've been a bit lax on doing that, so I need to work a little hard. I might skip it in episode 55, but I'm not sure. Episode 55, that's right around the corner. I'm going to be joined by Larry Herrera. Larry Herrera is a local guy here, lives in the town I live in South Jersey. He is also a co-host on the Idiots podcast that's on Wildfire Radio, and they broadcast live at 6:30 every Monday during the week. I think they're up. Their latest show went up now. Larry, his character name is Schmo the Intern, and Larry's going to be here. Larry is a super fan. He was at our 50th. He speaks extremely highly of the show on his podcast, does an amazing job promoting us on social media. But I had to get him in here because he's got a story to tell that I want to get on my show and share it with the world. He was a professional wrestler. He was a spy. He's a professional painter. He's a podcaster. All these weird kind of niche things he has. Did I say spy? I didn't mean that. Sorry, Larry. And it gets me excited that I'm going to have him on episode 55. We'll record right out of here, and that'll post next Monday on our feed. So remember to subscribe if you haven't already done so, although these minisodes are for my subscribers. Make sure you subscribe so you get this immediately in your feed. So that is minisode. See, I'm breaking records here. That's minisode 54 and a half of the Dependent Independent podcast. Go to our website, thedependentindependent.com. The link is in the show notes. You'll get everything TDI. We are building it. We are building our community like we always do. We're bringing people together, and I want you to join me. Thank you for listening to that little ditty about my job. As I grow and get better in what I do for a living, those 40, 50 hours a week, I will bring that energy and intensity and that excitement to the show, handle topics that make sense to you, and share every minute with you between now all the way to episode 200. I'm anxious to see who joins me. I'd like you to join me. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel. That way you get the updates when these minisodes post. Usually go within about 24 to 48 hours after we post these minisodes. And if you're a visual person, you can watch me do the show as well. Thank you for listening, subscribers, to minisode 54 and a half. And I am out.